Shalom, my name is Adam, and I welcome you to the parable of the vineyard. Every day, Yahuah is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to his righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of his law. Join us as we seek to be refined by his word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in his way, truth, and life. Shabbat Shalom and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube Torah portion live stream, week 18, Yitro for Jethro, and it consists of Exodus 18:1 through 20:23. And this is actually obviously an extremely important Torah portion. This is where we get them gathering at Mount Sinai. Well, a couple things happen. Jethro comes back. Zipporah, Moshe's wife, and his children come back. But really, the highlight of this is the thundering and the quaking and the fire descending on Mount Sinai and the loud noises and the earthquake and, of course, the giving of the Ten Commandments. So quite a bit to talk about today. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing it today instead of last night. Two reasons. Last night's live stream was a little bit longer than normal, and I know this one was going to be a little bit longer than normal, so we would have gone well into the wee hours of the night. So anyways, that's why we're doing it today. So if it's a little off schedule, apologize. I know like people like consistency, but again, so this is where we are today. So let's pray. And for those of you that are watching this as a recording, you're like, what are you talking about? So, Heavenly Father, Yahuah, we just come before you in Yahusha's name, and we say Shabbat Shalom to you. As the book of Yahuah Elohim says, that Shabbat is celebrated both here on earth and also in heaven, so Shabbat Shalom. We thank you for all that you've done for us and continue to do, and we bless you, and we just ask you to bless this study, that you may bless and open our eyes and ears, that we may see and hear and understand and hearken to your word, and to walk the path that you've put before us. And we bless you and thank you for sending your word for us, that we may have life and rejuvenation and reconciliation to you. And we thank you for this rest on your Shabbat. In Yahusha's name, Amen and Amen. So a couple things just real quick. When it comes to the Torah portions especially, we know that that Messiah Yahusha is our teacher, and the Ruach HaKodesh, that the Holy Spirit that he puts within us, is the reprover and the teacher. I'm just your brother studying the Word, and I invite you to study it along with me, especially the Torah, because so many of us are so new, and there's so much to learn. So if you're looking for someone that's got it all right and knows it all, it ain't me. What this would be like is if we were sitting in my living room, and I would share with you with my studies throughout the week and notes and comparisons. And what we like to do here, in case you're new, is we like to study the Torah portion. We read from the Sefer version, and then we like to compare sometimes with the Septuagint, the older Greek manuscript, what it says. Also, as of late, the Targum, which is the even older Aramaic version. And we also cross-reference with the book of Yahuah Elohim, Jubilees, and Jasher, as so we like to fit all the gaps and really see what's going on here. So before we get started, let's do this real quickly. A little shofar. And with that, we'll get started. We're actually just going to read a small little passage from a little bit further in Exodus 31, just about the Shabbat. Exodus 31:12 through, we're just going to read a couple verses. And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak also unto the children of Yisrael, saying, Truly, my Sabbaths ye shall guard, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. That's forever. And this word sign has also been translated as like a distinguishing mark. So when we're talking about the mark of Yahuwah or the mark of the beast, I'm here to say I think the Sabbath has a lot to do with it. So if you are currently doing the Sabbath, you're on the right road. If you're new and you're like, hey, what's the Sabbath? I would encourage you to search it even further, for this is an extremely important part of our walk, the Sabbath. So you shall guard the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy, Kodesh, unto you. Everyone that defiles it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever does any work thereon, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but then the seventh is the Shabbat of rest, holy to Yahuwah. Whosoever does any work on the Shabbat will surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Yisrael shall guard the Shabbat, to keep the Shabbat throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. Look up that word perpetual. It keeps on going and going and going. So, anyways, let's get to the Torah portion. And again, we're going to start at Exodus 18:1, and we're going to read through 20:23. So we're going to start with Jethro coming back and bringing Zipporah, his daughter, Moshe's wife. So when Yitro, the priest of Midian, Moshe's father-in-law, heard all that Elohim had done for Moshe and for Yisrael, his people, and that Yahuwah had brought Yisrael out of Mitzrayim, then Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moshe's woman, after he had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of which the name of the one was Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a strange land. And the name of the other was Eleazar, for the Elohai of my father, said he, was my help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. So it's not really clear in the canon that Moshe sent Zipporah back. So it's kind of like, well, why did she leave? It doesn't really say that in the earlier portions of Exodus, which is right here. So right here it says, and Moshe went and returned to Yitro his father-in-law and said unto him, Let me go, I pray, and return unto my brethren which are in Egypt, and see whether they be alive. And Yitro said to Moshe, Go in peace. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe in Midian, Go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought your life. And Moshe took his wife and sons and set them upon an ass, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moshe took the rod of Elohim in his hand. So here we have him going towards Egypt. His wife and sons with him, and then we don't get anything else in the canon. You're like, wait a minute, why did they leave? It's not a big deal. I just, again, in going through this, I like to know all the details. So we get that little bit of information in the book of Yashar, chapter 79, verses 15 through 18. And this is on his way back to Egypt. This is where he meets Aharon in the way. And Aharon lifted up his eyes and saw Zipporah, the wife of Moshe, and her children. And he said unto Moshe, Who are these unto thee? And Moshe said unto him, They are my wife and sons, which Elohim gave to me in Midian. And the thing grieved Aharon on account of the woman and her children. And Aharon said to Moshe, Send away the woman and her children, that they may go to her father's house. And Moshe hearkened to the words of Aharon, and did so. And Zipporah returned with her children, and they went to the house of Reuel, which is Jethro's other name. He's got 2 names, Jethro and Reuel. And remained there until the time arrived when Yahuwah had visited his people and brought them forth from Egypt from the hand of Pharaoh. So again, not a huge point, but I thought it was interesting, because I was like, wait a minute, when did they leave? So keep going. We're going to keep going. So Exodus 18:5, and Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, came with his sons and his woman unto Moshe into the wilderness, where he encamped at the mount of Elohim. And he said unto Moshe, I, your father-in-law Yitro, am come unto you, and your woman, and her 2 sons with her. And Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law, and did obeisance, and kissed him, and they asked each other of their welfare, and they came into the tent. So remember, at this point, Jethro was a good man, but he wasn't a follower of Yahuwah yet. But you see here, Moshe giving honor to him, So it reminds me of the story of the Pharisees and Sadducees when they were tempting Yahusha. They're like, well, who is my neighbor, right? Because they're like, they don't want to do good to outside people outside of their community. And he told them that story about the Samaritan and we know it as the Good Samaritan, right? And so he's like, go and do likewise. So we should be good to all people. And truly, if we're ever going to bring disciples in, if we're ever going to bring people into the faith that don't believe, certainly we're not going to bring them in by being rude and jerks to them, you know. Exodus 18:8, and Moshe told his father-in-law all that Yahuah had done unto Pharaoh and unto Mitzrayim for Yasharel's sake, and all the travail that had come upon them by the way, and how Yahuah delivered them. And Yitro rejoiced for all the goodness which Yahuah had done to Yasharel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of Mitzrayim, of the Mitzrayim. And Yitro said, Blessed be Yahuah, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrayim, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Mitzrayim. And if you've been with us through this Torah portion cycle so far, or maybe even last year, we read that in the early days of the Israelites, as they started to get, after like Joseph died off and some of the other brothers, that's when Egypt started to be afraid of them and wanting to put them in bondage. And Yitro at that time, Reuel, was one of Pharaoh's two counselors. Pharaoh had Job, which we know is Job, and Reuel. And so when all the things started happening, Reuel had retold a lot of the things that Yahuah had done for the people, for the Hebrews, as he called them. He recounted the story of Abraham and how on Abraham's sake, on his account for Sarah, for Pharaoh taking Sarah, that all of Egypt was stricken with plagues. And, that story was told for years. And he retold the story about the same thing happening with Abimelech in in the land of the Philistines and Isaac. So Reuel had seen a lot of what Yahuah had done, but he wasn't quite a follower yet. So, but he started to know a little bit about Yahuah. So there was some background. It wasn't just like who's Yahuah, or who's El Shaddai, right? Who's the Almighty, He knew him. He just didn't follow him yet. And right here he says, Now I know that Yahuah is greater than all Elohim, for in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. And we're going to go now to Yashar 82. And we're going to read 1-5. And the children of Yasharel proceeded from Rephidim, and they encamped in the wilderness of Sinai in the 3rd month from their going forth from Egypt. At that time came Reuel, again, Jethro, the Midianite, the father-in-law of Moshe, with Zipporah his daughter and her 2 sons, for he had heard of the wonders of Yahuah which he had done to Yasharel, that he had delivered them from the hand of Egypt. And Reuel came to Moshe to the wilderness where he was encamped, where was the mountain of Elohim. And Moshe went forth to meet his father-in-law with great honor, and all Yasharel was with him. And Reuel and his children remained amongst the Israelites for many days. And Reuel knew Yahuah from that day forward. So he knew him, right? So it's like that knowing him, like the same in the opposite sense when Yahusha comes back and he says, away from me, I never knew you. So this is saying in the positive sense that Reuel began to know him from that day forward, at least to what I understand. So keep going. So Exodus 18:12, in Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law took a burnt offering and sacrifices for Elohim. And Aharon came and all the elders of Yasharel to eat bread with Moshe's father-in-law before Elohim. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moshe sat to judge the people, and all the people stood by Moshe from morning unto evening. And when Moshe's father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that you do to the people? Why sit you yourself alone, and all the people stand by you from morning unto evening? And Moshe said unto his father-in-law, Because the people come unto me to inquire of Elohim. When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another, and I do make them know the statutes of Elohim and his Torah. So I thought this was really interesting, because people will say the Torah was not known. There was no law before Mount Sinai. Well, here we are, right here, right before Mount Sinai, before Moshe goes up, before the 40 days and 40 nights, and then the second 40 days and 40 nights, and the giving of the Torah. You can see it already existed, because that's exactly what he's saying right now. He's like, before he was even given, he's like, I'm teaching them this stuff, and we've seen that all throughout, especially if you look like in the book of the Testaments, the 12 patriarchs. They're talking about all kinds of commandments that are just very clear that they knew. I mean, because let's reason with each other. You don't think they knew what adultery was already at that point, and what stealing? You know, don't think there's laws for stealing. Of course it was, and we actually talked about this a little bit last night in the Revelation live stream that. All nations got an opportunity to serve Yahuah, because in the book of Jubilees, chapter 7, from the middle onwards, it's very clear that Noah instructed all of his sons, all of them, of all the commandments, the statutes, the ordinances, sacrifices, not eating blood, fornication, all that kind of stuff. He taught them all the statutes. So they were in existence for a long time. And so... Anyways, again, I just wanted to kind of brush over that, because a lot of people would just say that, righteous Abraham, he lived before the law. That's not true. Genesis 26:5 said that, because Abraham kept my Torah and my statutes and my commandments. So, moving on, Exodus 18:17, and Moshe's father-in-law said unto him, the thing that you do, it's not good. You will surely wear away, both you and this people that is with you, for this thing is too heavy for you. You are not able to perform it yourself alone. Hearken now unto my voice, and I will give you counsel, and Elohim shall be with you. Be for the people to Elohim word, that you may bring the causes unto Elohim, and you shall teach them the ordinances and the Torah, and shall show them the way wherein they must walk. And we know what that way is, the Torah, Psalm 19, verse 1. Blessed are the undefiled who walk in the way in the Torah of Yahuah. And the work that they must do. Moreover, you shall provide out of all the people able men, such as fear Elohim, men of truth, hating covetousness. Right, so they already knew what that was. And place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s, and let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto you, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for yourself, and they shall bear the burden with you. If you shall do this thing, and Elohim command you so, then you shall be able to endure, and all this people shall also go to their place in peace. And so I know the heart of Moshe here. It's like, I was fortunate to be in management positions most of my life, leadership type positions. And I know what the heart of Moshe was in this place, because a lot of us think that, well, nobody's going to care as much as I do. And so that way, therefore, I've got to do it all, because if I want it done right, that means I'm going to have to do it myself. And I'm pretty sure that's probably part of the heart of Moshe here. But as Yitro is wisely telling Moshe, it just doesn't work. You get worn out. And I remember that actually early in my management career, I did get worn out, and thankfully learned to disseminate. And I should have known better, because even before that, I was in the Marine Corps, and man, you've got rank, you've got order, you've got structure, and it works. You've got one person that's over you, and then there's a person that's over 5, and then you got a person that's over 20, and a person that's over 55, and then someone that's over 500, and then of course it just keeps going up and up and up, and it works. I'm telling you, I saw it work in the military. Structure works. Leadership, the right leadership works, because unfortunately there's also bad leadership. Well, that's a whole other thing to talk about, good leadership and bad leadership. But the right leadership works. It absolutely works. And sometimes I think a lot of us are like, oh, we don't need any leadership. We just have the ruach to guide us, and maybe so in a part. But I think we do. It's good. Accountability is good. Having someone to go to is good in general. What does the proverb say? Where there is no vision, the people perish, right? Structure is good, and it's something that I think we need to continue to look at as time progresses, as we all hope that Yahusha is right around the corner, and he's coming here, maybe around Passover time. Maybe we've all been thinking that for the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But as we continue on, I think maybe as we continue in this Torah, because right now what we're talking about is Torah. Leadership and structure and order is Torah. Like everything in the Torah that we can glean from, I think we need to glean from. And at some point, I think, we need to continue to look at this because it is a good thing. And, not one of us can bear it all. We need each other. We all have different skills. We all have different abilities. I think, anyways, that's something we need to talk about more in the coming days. But I don't think we should look against leadership in structure. It's good. And, some would say, Moshe, why would Moshe take advice from this, pagan priest? Well, first of all, it said he turned to Yahuah and started serving him, right? So he was Yahuah's at that point. But, that's another thing we have to take into consideration is, or a question I would ask you is, can we take advice from people that are outside, that are not in covenant, that are not followers of Yah and followers of his son, Messiah Yahusha? And I would say yes, with caution. For example, in the scriptures, do we learn how to ride a horse? Does it give us instruction on how to ride a horse? No. If we want to ride a horse, can we take advice from someone who's not in covenant, not a believer, and take good advice from them on how to ride a horse? Yeah, I think we can. There's a million different topics. You see what I'm saying there. I mean, we can talk about cooking. We can talk about how to build a home. We can learn. Good advice is good advice. But of course we have to keep ourselves guarded. If they want to talk to us about spiritual matters or whatever, then of course we got to guard our heart. But if we want to learn how to farm the right way, last year when I did my first farm, of course I listened to Justin's new channel with the Sabbath Gardens. Got some great advice there, but I wanted some continued instruction, so I looked up quite a few sites, and I don't know if they were believers or not, but surely I got some good advice on how to cultivate, how to prune, how to plant the right way, and which plants at the right time. So, anyways, just food for thought. Okay, so let's keep going on. We're going to finish up 18 here. So Moshe hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. And Moshe chose able men out of all Yisrael and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moshe, but every small matter they judged themselves. And Moshe let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way into his own land. And it's interesting as we read through the scriptures, most of the time, the best leaders are the ones that don't feel they're qualified to lead or don't even want to lead. People that are typically ambitious and want to be leaders and seek after it typically have hidden motives and end up being some of the worst leaders. And that's why you look time and time again, look at Gideon. Gideon's like, I'm the least. I'm in Manasseh, and the least. I'm in the least of my family, and look at Saul. He ended up not going the right way, but he was the least of the least. And look at David. He was the least of the least. Moshe's like, I can't even talk right. Like I stutter. And he ended up being one of the best leaders of all time. And I think in a lot of ways, Yahuah chooses the meek and the humble, because he can work with that. People that are prideful, that are ambitious in that way, that want to rule over the people, typically don't have their heart right. So what I'm saying is, if you think that you might be fit for leadership, I would self-evaluate and ask yourself if you're humble and meek, and if you have any ulterior motives if you want to be leadership. Because I'm here to tell you, we don't see a whole lot of it in future context for the New Jerusalem and his army and his kingdom. You don't think he's going to have some kind of structure? I would think so. So just keep that in mind. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so let's see. So, okay, so yeah, Moshe chose able men. So, and that's the other thing we have to also realize is not everybody is made for everything. We have to realize that. Here I'll show you what I'm talking about. Matthew 25:14-15. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, and another 2, and another 1, to every man according to his several ability. Right? So Yahuah creates us with certain abilities. Some of us have gifts in this way, and some of us has gifts in another way. And that's why, quite frankly, I really look forward to, I don't know how much time we have left here, but someday I would love to live in a community with all you all, and we could just pitch in together. And, man, what an amazing thing that, some people would be great carpenters and they can build. Some people could, be great farmers, and some people would be great, tending to the flocks. And that's, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have different abilities and things. And so in this case, Jethro had a great ability to have better foresight than Moshe to be like, hey, we need some structure. We need some structure here. You're gonna wear out. Talking about abilities, we're gonna read the Testament of Naphtali. This copy and I think Levi were both found in the Dead Sea Scrolls collection. So we're gonna start chapter 1, verse 14. For as the potter knoweth the vessel, how much it is to contain, and bringeth clay accordingly, so also doth Yahuah make the body after the likeness of the Spirit, and according to the capacity of the body doth he implant the Spirit. So this is just basically saying, like, different potters make different size pots and what they're going to hold and whatnot. So here Naphtali is saying that that Yahuah knows each person exactly what they're going to do, what they're going to be good at. Now, of course, there's things that we're not born naturally, that we're not good at, that we can mature. But, most of you out there, at least you adults out there, know that certain people are born with certain gifts they excel at, that are naturally talented at, that it's just a natural gift given from Yahuah. And there's other things that you're not born with naturally, and that you have to work really hard at and mature. And there's some people that are born that have to work hard at everything, and there's some people who are born that are really good at a lot of things, and that's what makes us not the same, and there's a variety of us. So anyways, keep going. And the one does not fall short of the other. So here again, he was saying is, and according to the capacity of the body doth he implant the Spirit. And the one does not fall short of the other by a third part of a hair, for by weight and measure and rule was all the creation made. So everything structured, ordered. It wasn't just chaos. He didn't just be like, oh, like, la-di-da, this and that and that and that and that. No, he and I would love to hear the story of how, look how large this earth is. Did he sit down with an art easel and like drafting papers and be like, no, I don't like that. Toss that in the trash. And like sitting down, crafting the cardinal, the bird. He's like, red. Okay, yeah, the black. Okay, I like that. Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, cardinal. Or you know what I mean. I'm just saying, like, but here he's saying that it was. Everything in creation was very orderly, and again, that's kind of what I'm talking about here is order and structure. Chaos does not work for his people, nor does it work for his creation. So something to keep in mind. So if those of you that have local fellowships, something to look into. And as the potter knoweth the use of each vessel, what it is meet for, so also doth Yahuah know the body, how far it will persist in goodness, and when it beginneth in evil. For there is no inclination or thought which Yahuah knoweth not, for he created every man after his own image. For as a man's strength, so also in his work. As his eye, so also in his sleep. And actually, I was just talking to my wife about this earlier. She was telling me about how she had a rough time sleeping, and she was, anyways. But I was telling her, I was like, this is not the same. This is apples and oranges. But I was telling her, I was just thinking about my old life and sinful lifestyle, and I didn't get very good sleep. I woke up always, not always, but I woke up often like in panic attacks, and I'd wake up and be like. And go back to sleep, and like I'd have like anxious dreams, and because my eye was evil. So this is so true. As his eye, so also in his sleep. I'm just going to say praise Yah for restful sleep these days. As his soul, so also in his word, either in the Torah of Yahuwah or in the Torah of Beliar. Beliar is a name for the devil. And as there is a division between light and darkness, between seeing and hearing, so also is there a division between man, and between woman and woman. And it is not to be said that the one is like the other, in either in face or in mind. And that's true. We're all different. We all are just different in our own little unique ways. For Elohim made all, and just think about it. Think about how many details on the face are just enough that there's enough randomness, or not randomness, I'm sorry, that's the exact opposite I'm trying to say, that he designed us all specifically a little bit different, just a little bit different. I mean, just think about the size and shape and width and length of nose. I mean, that can just change the whole look of a person. So, someone could probably have the same eyes, forehead, cheeks, chin, jawline as me, but if their nose is different, I mean, they could look completely different. They'd be, oh, you guys look similar, but it's different enough, right? For Elohim made all things good in their order. Again, that's kind of the theme I'm talking about here, is structure, order. The 5 senses in the head he joined on the neck to the head, adding to it the hair also for comeliness and glory, then the heart for understanding, the belly for excrement, and the stomach for grinding, the windpipe for talking in the breath, the liver for wrath, the gall for bitterness, the spleen for laughter, the reins for prudence, the muscles of the loins for power, the lungs for drawing in, the loins for strength, and so forth. So then, my children, let all your works be done in order, with good intent, in the fear of Elohim, and do nothing disorderly in scorn or out of its due season. And, this is something that I have had to learn and have to continue to learn. I'm more of the creative brain side. I don't know. That's probably a really new, I don't know if that's a scientific thing or whatever, but we know some of us are like engineers, like logic brained, and like everything is like in order and whatnot. I'm not going to show you the rest of my desk right here because I got books in here and books there, and it's just, I should probably take some advice of this right here. Let all my works be done in order. I could use some more counseling in that, but it's something, we all have refinements to do in certain areas. Some of you are probably like, I've got my socks completely lined up in my drawer and every shirt is folded exactly the right way. Yeah, I'm not that way. I'm the other side, so those of you that are like that, hey, you're doing much better than me in that. I've got some work to do. So let all your works be done in order, with good intent, in the fear of Elohim, and do nothing disorderly in scorn or out of its due season. Of course, this is probably talking something a lot deeper than our desks or our clothes drawers. But I'm just giving some just kind of surface level understandings. But there's so many things that we can talk about. I mean, let's anything. If you plant a garden, it should be done in order. Your employment. I'm sure most of you do your employment in order. So just something to think about. For if thou bid the ear to hear, it cannot. So neither while you are in darkness can ye do the works of light. So, all right, everything structured, ordered, in its right place. All right, so we finished chapter 18. So there's one thing I'd like to share with you. I'm not going to play it for you, but it's a video called The Carpenter's Tools. I can't believe it's almost a year ago already. And it's called The Carpenter's Tools, Building the Father's House. I did this last year. Sister Kate sent me this last year, and I thought it was so well done that I wanted to turn into a little short video. And it's just a short video showing us the importance of all of us and how we all are unique and have our own little abilities from Yahuwah that we can all come together and, for his glory. A little bit more about leadership, Deuteronomy 1:19 through 18. And I spake to you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. So we're getting a different take on what we just read in Exodus 18. Yahuwah your Elohim hath multiplied you, and behold, ye are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude. Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers make you 1,000 times so more as you are, and bless you as he has promised you. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance and your burden and your strife? Take you wise men and understanding and known among your tribes, and I will make them rulers over you. And ye answered me and said, The thing which thou hast spoken is good for us to do. So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men, and known, and made them heads over you, captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over 50s, and captains over 10s, and officers among your tribes. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, Hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is Elohim's. And the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. And I commanded you at that time all the things which ye should do. So, and again, we have to remember, Messiah Yahusha was the prophesied Messiah that was to be like Moshe. So Moshe in his time was like Messiah. Let's be honest. He was the deliverer of Yisrael. Of course, all glory goes to Yahuah, but Yahuah chose to work through this man. And so when Messiah Yahusha comes back, is he going to have structure and order? I do believe so. I do believe so. So let's read a little bit from the Targums. We're just going to read this first paragraph here, and we get a little more info about Jethro. And if you're new, the Aramaic Targums are the Aramaic translation of the Scriptures. Some would say that they are even maybe the oldest version that we have. And Jethro, the prince of Midian, the father-in-law of Moshe, heard all that Yahuah had done for Moshe and for Yisrael his people, and that Yahuah had brought forth Yisrael from Mitzrayim. And Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, took Zipporah his wife, whom Moshe had sent back from him after going into Mitzrayim, and his 2 sons. The name of the one is Gershom, because he had said, I am a dweller in a strange land, which is not mine. And the name of the other, Eleazar, for he had said, Elohim of my fathers was my helper, and saved me from the sword of Pharaoh. And Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, and the sons of Moshe, and his wife came to Moshe in the desert, and his wife came to Moshe at the desert in which he was sojourning, hard by the mountain upon which the glory of Yahuah was revealed to Moshe at the beginning. And he said to Moshe, I, thy father-in-law Yitro, have come to thee to be a proselyte. He said, I want to come and be a convert. So we don't get that in Yashar, really. It says that he followed Yahuah from that point forward. We don't get this in the normal canonical version. But he apparently came up to Moshe and was like, I'm ready to be a convert, right? I'm ready to be a proselyte. And if thou wilt not receive me on my own account, receive me for the sake of thy wife and of her 2 sons who are with her. And Moshe came forth from under the cloud of the glory to meet his father-in-law, and did obeisance, and kissed him, and made him a proselyte. So remember, all of the land of Canaan heard what happened in Egypt. We saw that with Joshua, and we sent the 2 spies into Jericho, and Rahab was like, we heard about everything that happened in Egypt and the parting of the sea, and they're like, the hearts of the inhabitants are melted. So I think Jethro, we saw earlier that Jethro did hear all these things, and so he's like, yeah, I'm ready to follow this. I'm ready to follow your Elohim. And they asked of each other's welfare, and came to the tabernacle, the house of instruction. And Moshe recounted to his father-in-law all that Yahuah had done to Pharaoh and to the Mizrahi on behalf of Yisrael, all the hardship they had found in the way at the sea of Suf, and at Marah, and at Rephidim, and how Amalek had fought with them, and Yahuah had delivered them. And Yitro rejoiced over all the good which Yahuah had done to Yisrael, and that he had given them manna and the well, and that he had saved them from the hand of the Mitzrayim. And Yitro said, Blessed be the name of Yahuah, who hath saved you from the hand of the Mizrahi, and from the hand of Pharaoh, and hath saved the people from under the tyranny of the Mizrahi. Now have I known that Yahuah is stronger than all Elohim, for by the very thing by which the Mizrahi wickedly would have punished Yisrael, by drowning them in the sea, upon themselves came the punishment in being punished in the sea. And Yitro took burnt offerings and holy sacrifices before Yahuah, and Aharon and all the elders of Yisrael came to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moshe before Yahuah, and Moshe stood and ministered before them. So, All right, so let's go back. Now we're going to go to chapter 19. In the 3rd month, when the children of Yisrael were gone forth out of the land of Mizraim, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Yisrael camped before the mount. And Moshe went up unto Elohim, and Yahuah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Yisrael, Ye have seen what I did unto the Mizraim, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now that's a really interesting passage, and I really want to read Revelation 12, and in a future context. We've been talking a lot lately about the connection between the Exodus account we're talking about now and the future that's to come, and we're going to see similar language here, and let's just read through it. Revelation 12, And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Some of us do believe that a fulfillment of this happened in the heavens in the fall of 2017. It was quite the sight to see. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and in pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. It's the Roman Catholic. That's Rome. Let's just call it Rome. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a male child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto Yahuah, and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness. And then, again, this is all, I believe, in a future context. Some would say this is all just about Messiah Yahusha, but I disagree. And if you want to look a little further into that, in our Revelation study, we did 2 different parts of study on Revelation 12. I would highly recommend taking a look at it, because there's not enough time to go over all that right now. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of Yah, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. We see that number quite a bit throughout Revelation. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come Yeshua, and strength, and the kingdom of our Yah, and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Yah day and night. So some people would say this fall of Satan out of heaven happened in the beginning with his fall, but I'm here to say after his fall, he was still going up into heaven and accusing. I mean, we saw it with Job, and for those of you that know the book of Yashar, we saw it also with Abraham and how he accused him and wanted to be able to tempt him and press him. So long story short, if you go through that Revelation series, my understanding at this time is that essentially heaven comes down to earth. You have New Jerusalem that comes down, and you have Satan. You have that huge war in heaven, and Satan is cast down at the same time. So essentially everything comes down at the same time. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and them that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the male child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, where she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a time from the face of the serpent. And so I read all that to read this right here, that the woman, right, which you could say is the congregation. It could be New Jerusalem. We can look at that a couple different ways, but regardless, it's his people. And so they were given 2 wings of a great eagle to go into the wilderness. And so that's exactly what we saw here. You have seen what I did unto Mitzrayim, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. And what did he do? He brought them into the wilderness. So you have some really similar language and similar patterns going on. So, all right. So, verse 5 and 6. Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, right, and guard my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak unto the children of Yisrael. So the great news is Peter knew exactly what was going on when Messiah Yahusha had offered up his blood for the renewal of the covenant. You can call it a new covenant if you want, but it's a renewal. We see covenants cut many times after the covenant of Mount Sinai. We even saw in Joshua's time, he renewed the covenant. And really, at the end of the day, that's essentially what Messiah Yahusha was doing. And, we can go to Jeremiah and said, behold, the days come where I do a new covenant with the house of Yisrael, not according as they came out of Egypt and whatnot. And of course, really the only difference what he was saying is that at that time I'm gonna put my Torah in your heart so that you actually do it, because that's what was the problem with. I would say that there's not really a problem with the covenant, but the people's hearts were really not circumcised. They were not. They didn't keep the Torah in their hearts, and that's why you saw as soon as we'll see here next week. As soon as Moshe goes up for 40 days, they're already going to whoring, and making idols. Even in, also in Joshua's day when he dies off, the book of Judges, you get into the first couple verses of Judges, and they're already serving idols. You're like, how did that happen? And so that's the difference. Is Yahusha gives us that circumcision of the heart and puts his Torah in our heart. Not that our heart is the judge and we do according to our heart's desire and do as we please, which unfortunately is what Christianity takes it at, mainstream Christianity takes it as, which is, the law's on my heart, right? So don't tell me I'm not keeping the law's on my heart. Whereas I've come to understand it as he puts it on our heart that we may actually walk out and do it. And that's what was different. But anyways, going back here about obeying his voice and guarding his covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. So, but the prerequisite for all this is to obey his voice and to guard his covenant. And what does that mean? That means the keeping of his Torah. And so Peter knew this. There's really no difference of what's going on here. So let's just read 1 Peter 2, 1 through 9. Wherefore, laying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies and envies and all evil speakings, as newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. So most of the time, the word is talked about in a sense of like water, which plants need water to grow. Well, Peter's like, hey, I'm just going to use an example. I'm going to use a parable of a baby. A baby doesn't drink water, a baby drinks milk. So it's the same thing, but just in a different way he's telling it. So as newborn babies, desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. Right? So we grow, we mature, we learn more. It's not just we say we believe in Messiah, we're saved, and kick back and I'm not going to do anything. If so, be ye have tasted that Yahuah is gracious, to whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of Elohim and precious, you also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house. And some of these words here is why I believe that, people are like, New Jerusalem is the bride. Not the people. Some people are like, no, the people are. New Jerusalem's not. I believe it's one and the same. I think we're part of the building. Ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Elohim by Yahusha HaMashiach. So, right, this holy priesthood, right? So we're going to see kingdom of priests, a holy nation, right? So a holy nation of priests. A holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Elohim by Yahusha HaMashiach. Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture, behold, I lay in Sion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Unto you, therefore, which believe, he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. And the same is still happening unto this day with modern-day Judaism that came out of Pharisaic belief. They're still denying the stone, the cornerstone. Now here we go, and this is where Peter knows there's nothing different about Yahusha inaugurating the covenant with blood, and so as Moshe. We're going to read about it a little bit next week, is that Moshe inaugurated the covenant and the marriage, essentially, the marriage of the people in Yahuah with blood. Parents, if you've got children in the room and you don't want them hearing about what happens in the marriage bed with a virgin, just give them a second if you want to just shut their ears for a moment. So, Yahusha inaugurated the covenant, or sanctified the covenant, with his blood, in his offering up of his blood. Same thing what we're going to read about in Exodus 24 is that when the covenant was given, Moshe took the blood and put some on the altar, then he sprinkled it on the people, right? So it's the same thing as our understanding of our marriage between a man and a woman. When you marry and she's a virgin, which I know a lot of us, mess that up. But the way it's supposed to be done is, you're the man after the marriage, consummating the marriage, and what happens? The hymen is pierced in blood. It's inaugurates, or it seals the marriage, and so that's the same thing. That's what Yahusha did. So, anyways, I'm saying all that to say this: that Peter knew that there was nothing different. This wasn't like some whole new thing where you just believe and then you just go about your business. He's quoting Exodus 19:5-6 here, where he says, "But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." And Peter here is talking in parables. And where did he learn that? He learned it from Master Yahusha, because he was like, "Why are you talking parables?" He's like, "Because it's given to some people to understand this, and to others it's not," right? And so a lot of Messiah's preaching was done using like code words like light and truth, which are definitions for the Torah. So being called out of darkness into light, and we know that the Torah is light, period. So Peter knew what was going on there, and so again he just directly quoted this because he knew that Yahusha was like Moshe and had inaugurated the covenant and brought the people into the covenant, and it was available to all people, even the Gentiles, even the nations. Exodus 19:7, "And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which Yahuah commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, All that Yahuah has spoken we will do. And Moshe returned the words of the people unto Yahuah, and Yahuah said unto Moshe, Lo, I come unto you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you, and believe you forever. And Moshe told the words of the people unto Yahuah. And Yahuah said unto Moshe, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes." Right? So be ready. Have your robes clean and washed. I think it's Revelation 22:14. In the Sefer and the KJV, it says, "Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter into the city through the gates," or enter in the gates to the city. But in all the other versions, it says, "Blessed are they that wash their robes, that they may have the right." So there's something about, cleanliness, right? Cleanliness is not just about your outer appearance, but of course it's on the inner appearance. Messiah Yahusha taught us that about the Pharisees, who were just clean on the outside and dirty on the inside. "And be ready against the third day, for the third day Yahuah will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai." And I believe that this is going to happen again here in the book of Enoch, actually, chapter 1, the very first one. Check this out. So, as we read last night, if you're with us, long story short, the book of Enoch opens up saying, hey, this book isn't for you all, it's for the people living in the last days when the tribulation is here. And it says here, the Holy Great One will come forth from his dwelling, and the eternal Elohim will tread upon the earth, even on Mount Sinai, and appear from his camp, and appear in the strength of his might from the heaven of heavens, and all shall be smitten with fear. And the watchers shall quake, and great fear and trembling shall seize them unto the ends of the earth. That didn't happen back then in Exodus. Now we're talking about, of course, the world is populated, and we're spread out to the ends of the earth. And I believe every eye is going to see this. And the high mountains shall be shaken, and the high hills shall be made low, and shall melt like wax before the flame. And the earth shall be wholly rent in sunder, and all it is upon the earth shall perish. And there shall be a judgment upon all men. But with the righteous he will make peace, and will protect the elect, and mercy shall be upon them. And they shall all belong to Elohim, and they shall be prospered, and they shall all be blessed. And he will help them all, and light shall appear unto them, and he will make peace with them. So... And then, well, I guess I'll finish it off, because I believe this is when Yahusha comes with his 144,000. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his holy ones. In Judah, he used the word saints. He comes with 10,000s of his saints. Because if it's 144,000, you can't say hundreds of thousands, because that would imply 200,000 or more. So tens of thousands could be 144,000. To execute judgment upon all, and to destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness, which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which the ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So anyways, point being is, I believe that this is going to happen again, and I'll show you what I mean here about the third day. So Matthew 17:23, and they shall kill him, and on the third day he shall be raised again, and they're exceeding sorry. And there's something about this third day thing that's really important. Hosea 6:1-2, come, and let us return unto Yahuah, for he hath torn, he will heal us, he hath smitten, and will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us, and in the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. So some people will disagree that, we're roughly 2,000 years away from Messiah. So if 1,000 years is as a day, and we're finished or finishing up the end of the 2,000 years, we're finishing the second day, and the third day is going to start. And if the third day is 1,000 years, I think we're at the end of the second day going into the third day. Are you following me? So let's say the calendar's off a little bit, and let's say we're right at 2,000 years away. We're right at the end of the second day, and we're getting ready to go into the third day. So let's read this again. So after 2 days, he will revive us. So here we're at the end of the second day, right? And he's reviving us. He's raising up a people to come back to his glory and to honor him the right way, not just in lip service, but in the way he's ordained us to do so. In the third day, he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. So, pretty interesting stuff. If you're catching what I'm putting down here. Okay, and let's see. And you, Exodus 19:12, and you shall set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourselves that you go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever touches the mount shall be surely put to death. There shall not a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the shofar sounds long, they shall come up to the mount. So that's pretty cool. So when the shofar sounds, so we got to do a quick shofar. I mean, let's be honest. Okay, so when the shofar sounds long, they shall come up to the mount. And think of when that shofar sounds, we go up to New Jerusalem on the mount. I think that's pretty interesting. So Psalm 47, oh, clap your hands, all his people, shout unto Elohim with the voice of triumph. For Yahuah Most High is terrible. He is a great king over all the earth. He shall subdue the people under us and the nations under our feet. He shall choose our inheritance for us, the excellency of Jacob, whom he loved, Selah. Elohim is gone up with a shout, Yahuah with the sound of a shofar. Sing praises to Elohim, sing praises to our King, sing praises, for Elohim is the King of all the earth. Sing ye praises with understanding. Elohim reigneth over the heathen. Elohim sitteth upon the throne of his holiness. The princes of the people are gathered together, even the people of the Elohim of Abraham, for the shields of the earth belong to Elohim. He is greatly exalted. So all this starts with a shofar. So again, what we're talking about here. So when the shofar sounds long, then they shall come up to the mount. Matthew 24, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a shofar, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Isaiah 27:13, and it shall come to pass in that day that the great shofar shall be blown, and they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts in the land of Egypt, which I think is where we are now, and shall worship Yahuah in the holy mount at Yerushalayim. You're probably going to get tired of that one by now, by the end of this one, because we got a lot more shofars to do. Exodus 19:14, and Moshe went down from the mount unto the people and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day, come not at your women. So nothing going on in the marriage bed. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the shofar exceeding loud, so that the people that was in the camp trembled. All right, I won't do it again. And Moshe brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. So going back here with the thunders, lightnings, thick cloud, the voice of the trumpet or shofar loud, people trembling. Let's take a look. Here we go. And out of the Revelation 4:5, and out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim. Revelation 8:5, and the angel took the censer and filled it with the fire of the altar and cast it into the earth, and there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Revelation 11:19, and the temple of Elohim was opened in heaven, and there was seen in the temple of the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and earthquake and a great hail. Revelation 16:18, and there were voices and thunderings and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since there were men upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. Isaiah 29:6, you shall be visited of Yahuah Szavāt with thunder, and with earthquake, and with a great noise, and with storm, and with tempest, and the flame of a devouring fire. It says Exodus 19 all over again. And Moshe brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because Yahuah descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. Thou shalt be visited of Yahuah Szavāt with thunder and earthquake and great noise, with a storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. And so, I don't know if you all saw the documentary we put out last week, but something interesting that I didn't know about until Brother Arthur, who helped me make this, pointed out to me. I don't know how I missed it, but the real Mount Sinai, Jabal al-Laz, well, it just so happens that out of nowhere, you have the top of this mount, everything is just charred, like something, like a ton of fire just descended upon it, right? You have this, and what's interesting is if you go up there, we have a video we have a video in that documentary where if you go up, they actually went up here to the top of this mountain. And that's not a shadow, by the way. It looks like a shadow from a cloud. It's not. It's just completely different. All of a sudden, if you go up there and you chip away at this rock, it becomes this color. So there's a definite charring over this. So I really believe that this is the right Mount Sinai. And man, how interesting this really is. So just thought that was really cool. All right. Wait. Yeah, okay. And when the voice of the shofar sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moshe spoke, and Elohim answered him by a voice. And Yahuah came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount, and Yahuah called Moshe up to the top of the mount, and Moshe went up. And by the way, that's that site in Jabal al-Laz, at the top there, like there's like little landing place where it's just like flat. Like I don't know where it's like mountain, flat. Perfect place for Moshe to be, I guess, hanging out with the Most High. Or actually, from my understanding, he hung out with Messiah Yahusha, not yet revealed at that point. And Yahuah came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount, and Yahuah called Moshe up to the top of the mount, and Moshe went up. And Yahuah said unto Moshe, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto El Yahuah to gaze, and many of them perish, right? He's like, go down there so they don't come take a sneak peek, and I'm going to destroy them. And lest the priests also which come near to El Yahuah sanctify themselves, lest Yahuah break forth upon them. And Moshe said unto El Yahuah, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for you charged us, saying, Set bounds about the mount, and sanctify it. And Yahuah said unto him, Away, get you down, and you shall come up, you and Aharon with you. But let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto El Yahuah, lest he break forth upon them. So Moshe went down unto the people, and spoke unto them. So let's take a look at the Targum now. So we're going to read chapter 19. In the 3rd month of the exodus of the sons of Yasharel from the land of Mizraim, on that day, the 1st month, they came to the desert, for they had journeyed from Rephidim and had come to the desert of Sinai. And Yasharel encamped there in the desert of one heart, nigh to the mountain. And Moshe on the 2nd day went up to the summit of the mount, and Yahuah called to him from the mount, saying, This shalt thou speak to the men of the house of Jacob, and instruct the house of Yasharel. Ye have seen what I did to the Mitzrayim, and how I bear you upon the clouds as upon eagle's wings, from Pelusin, to take you from the place of the sanctuary, there to solemnize the Pascha, the Passover, and in the same night brought you back to the Pelusin, and from thence have brought you nigh to receive the doctrine of my Torah. And now, if you will truly hearken to my word and keep my covenant, right? So listen to Messiah Yahusha. This might as well would be what it said, his memra. And keep in mind, in the Aramaic, every time the word is capitalized with a W, it's a different word than dabar, like that, which would be like dabar. Well, that's Hebrew, dabar, deber, but it's a different word used for word. It's memra, and it was used in the Torah, in the Targums, like 240 times, 220 times, and it was only used, I think, less than 20 times in the Septuagint and the Masoretic version. So it was completely stripped out. So if you will truly hearken to my word and keep my covenant, you shall be more beloved before me than all the peoples on the face of the earth. And before me you shall be crowned kings and sanctified priests and a holy people. These are the words thou shalt speak to the sons of Yasharel. And isn't this interesting? We don't see, we see holy nation, a royal priesthood, but here it says specifically kings and priests. And that's something we don't really see too often until we get to the New Testament, that he has made us king, like Book of Revelation specifically, that he has made us kings and priests and a holy people. These are the words thou shalt speak unto the sons of Yasharel. And Moshe came that day and called the elders of the people and set in order before them all these words which Yahuah had commanded. And all the people responded together and said, All that Yahuah had spoken we will do. And Moshe carried back the words of the people before Yahuah. And Yahuah said to Moshe, Behold, on the 3rd day I will reveal myself to thee in the depth of the cloud of glory, that the people may hear while I speak with you, and may believe in thee forever. And Moshe delivered the words of the people before Yahuah. And I skipped these bracket parts because this is kind of like additions. And Yahuah said to Moshe, On the 4th day go unto the people, and prepare them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their raiment, and be prepared on the 3rd day. For on the 3rd day Yahuah will reveal himself in the eyes of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set limits for the people, that they may stand round about the mountain, and shall say, Beware, that you ascend not to the mountain, nor come near its confines. Whoever cometh nigh the mount will surely be put to death. Touch it not with the hand, for he will be stoned with hailstones, or be pierced with arrows of fire. Whether beast or man, he will not live. But when the voice of the shofar is heard, they may go up forwards towards the mount. And Moshe went down that day to the people and prepared the people, and they blanched their clothes. And he said to the people, be ready for the third day, abstain from the marriage bed. And it was on the third day, on the 6th of the month, in the time of the morning, that on the mountain there were voices of thunders and lightning and mighty clouds of a smoke, and the voice of a shofar exceeding loud, and all the people in the camp trembled. And Moshe brought forth the people from the camp to meet the glorious presence of Yahuah. And suddenly Yahuah of the world uprooted the mountain and lifted it in the air, and it became luminous as a beacon. And they stood beneath the mountain, and all of Mount Sinai was in a flame, for the heavens had overspread it. And he was revealed over it in a flaming fire, and the smoke went up as the smoke of a furnace, and all the mountain quaked greatly. And the voice of the shofar went forth and grew stronger. Then Moshe spake and was answered from before Yahuah with a gracious and majestic voice, and with pleasant and gracious words. And Yahuah revealed himself on Mount Sinai upon the summit of the mountain. And Yahuah called unto Moshe from the summit of the mount. And Moshe went up, and Yahuah said to Moshe, descend, and warn the people, lest they come directly before Yahuah to gaze, and many of them fall. The priests also, who approach to minister before Yahuah, must be sanctified, lest Yahuah destroy them. And Moshe said before Yahuah, the people cannot come up unto Mount Sinai, because thou didst instruct us, saying, make limits to the mount, and sanctify it. And Yahuah said to him, go down, and then ascend, and thou and Aharon with thee, but let not the priests or the people directly come up to gaze before Yahuah, lest he slay them. And Moshe went down from the mountain to the people, and said to them, draw nigh and hear the Torah with 10 words. So, and that's an interesting way to say it, hear the Torah with 10 words, right? It's almost like what Messiah said, hear the Torah with 2 words, and how he said it was, all of the Torah can be summed up or hangs upon these 2 commandments. So it's like, it's like a tree that branches that keeps branching off. It starts here and it keeps branching off, and you get more and more and more and more. So, okay, let's go back now to Exodus in the Sefer, and we're going to go at chapter 20. Give me just a moment while I'm taking a drink. I'll just go ahead and do this. Man, who's ready to hear the real shofar from heaven? Me. Okay. Exodus 20. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuah Elohim, which have brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim before me. And really, we should have like a 2-hour live stream just on the commandments and how to keep them. But nevertheless, let's take a break here and talk about these a little bit in really understand what they mean. And so, having gods, having other gods and other idols is those lines are kind of blurred in this day and age, because, look at a concert, look at a concert, not concert. What am I doing? Look at a concert, for example. We know that when we give praise to Yahuah, what are we supposed to do? Uplift our hands. So when people go to these concerts and they do stuff like this, what are they doing? Right? And to be like, oh, they're not really serving the other God. Well, are they giving him reverence? Right? Are they giving him praise? Yeah, they are. I should probably be careful here. This could probably get really ugly. Anyways, so what I'm saying. I guess what I'm saying is, the first and second commandment, having no other Elohim and having no idols. In today's day and age, really, those lines can kind of be blurred, because bands, musicians can be gods, idols. I think they call themselves that, rock gods and rap gods and stuff like that. So things like that, fame, so movie stars. But people can also really serve money. And I think, in a lot of sense, people have made money their God or their belly is their god, or their addictions become their gods, or you could also even be their idols. But it's really whatever's most important in your life could really be your God. And for some people, their wife could be their God. And that's why Messiah Yahushua said a really hard thing for people to understand that just don't get it, which is whoever loves mother or father or children, or wife more than me is not worthy of me. Because, if you make your child more important than the Most High, you're kind of making that child kind of like your God, really. And you're like, oh no, really, at the end of the day, I think whatever is in your heart, whatever dwells in your heart with the most zeal and fervor that you think about day and night and wake up thinking about, go to sleep thinking about, I really think that is your God. And for some people, like me in my former life, when I was just living the way I wanted to in my 20s and first couple of years of my 30s, money was my God. That's for sure. And because I loved everything that God would give me. I like doing all the evil things of the world that says that are good. And so therefore I served money because I wanted all the things that money got me. But now I think a lot of us have been set straight where we want to serve Elohim and we're satisfied with all that he gives us. And a lot of that is inner peace and joy, it's satisfaction, a filling up of our soul that we never experienced before, at least in my case. Some of you may have lived really good lives. Some of you didn't, not all of you lived the story of the prodigal son like I did, which is, going into the world and rioting and wasting my money and doing as I pleased and, falling down and wanting to die. And so, but some of you are like, I never felt like that. So I may not be able to relate to everybody, but at the end of the day, before we really came to serve Yahuah, did we serve other gods? Because it's not outright, serving Satan. Like Satan worship is obviously they're serving a different Elohim. Back in the day, they outright served Baal. Now people are serving Baal and don't even know it. And here, let me share with you how I understand that. So we serve a God, serve an Elohim by keeping his commandments, right? So if you think you're serving the Most High, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Jacob, and you're celebrating Easter and Christmas, and you're eating your Easter ham, and you go to church on Sunday, which is Sunday's not sanctified by Yahuah, and you're walking into a church that's a modern-day high place with a steeple on top. I'm here to ask you, and I know this is a tough subject because you're like, no, my mom, she's a really great person, and I know, but really, who are they serving? They give the God of Israel lip service, but are they serving him, or are they serving other Elohim? Because even the modern-day Christian church, they're an offshoot of the Roman Catholic Church, and they're the ones that changed the day of Shabbat from what we understand is the seventh day of the week now to the first day of the week, which is Sunday. And so if you're observing that as opposed to what the scriptures teach us, who you're serving the Roman Catholic Church. And the book of Revelation says that the beast, Rome, was given power by the dragon. So ultimately, if the dragon gives the beast power and you're serving him in a way that the beast has taught you to serve him, are you serving another Elohim? I'm here to say, I think so. And that's why I believe Yahusha will have no mercy when he says, away from me, I never knew you, you workers of iniquity, you workers of Torah-lessness. They're like, we cast out devils in your name. We did many wonderful works in your name. No mercy, because he served other gods. No, we don't need to read that. Okay, so commandment 2, You shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens or above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuah Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So again, like in the Catholic Church, I mean, this is very easy to identify. It's no wonder that they took out the second commandment of idolatry, and they took the 10th commandment and split it into two. So I don't want to gaze on this too long, but just to show you, I mean, this is very obvious. But let's talk about this. What's this thing right here? We're taught in this nation to kneel before the cross. I'm here to say that I think this is a humiliation of our Messiah, because he was much more than this. He rose, because after this he rose. Quite frankly, this, to me, the beast is making a mockery, saying, haha, look what we did. And people bow down to this. People ask me quite often about, hey, Adam, I'm starting to really learn about the true way. Should I have crosses in my home? I'm no judge, but I'm here to say I think the cross is a graven image. And if you look at the history of this, I actually believe Yahusha was nailed to an upright stake. There was no cross beam here, in my opinion. But I'm not going to really argue about that. What I am going to say, though, is I believe this is a graven image. And I would ask you to pray about that, and and take that up with the Most High. Because it doesn't matter. You're like, oh, well, I'm not serving. I'm kneeling before the cross, and the cross is in the back of the church, and we're all looking at it. But that's not who I'm serving. I'm serving Him. Well, they said, they said the same things. Even in the golden calf scenario, they're like, this is your God that brought you up out of Egypt. So what they did was they wanted to serve Yahuwah by doing it through this calf, that golden calf. And so anyways, so I don't want to go too long on that, but if you've got crosses in your home or around your neck, I would, or your earrings, I would really highly test that and ask the Most High if that is a graven image, and allow Him to guide you in that. Search the history of where the cross came from. It's not good. So, okay, verse 5. Right, and so obviously the rest of this is, we're not supposed to make fish and bow down to Him for the fish. Even the little fish logo that's on the back of cars, that's like, fish and Jesus. Look at Dagon. Dagon, the false god Dagon, that he gets that name from the Hebrew word dag, or dagim, which is fish. That's a whole nother thing. I mean, look at the papal hat. What's it called? The papal hat. What's it called? This thing. This is hold on. Papal hat, Dagon. So this was Dagon back in the day. He had a fish head. And so now you've got the modern day. It's the same thing. This is all Babylonian garbage. This is all false religion. So here again, actually, this is exactly what I was talking about here. We need to be careful about these things. Oh, look at this guy. There's something very fishy in the Western religion. That's a good one. So these are the kind of things that we need to be careful of. So again, my point on that was this. If you've got that sticker on the back of your car. Okay, Exodus 20 verse 5. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuah Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So how many of you can look at your family and see that you all kind of struggle with the same things? For example, on my mother's side, my mom was one of 7 children, and most of her brothers and sisters had tons of children. So grew up having tons of cousins my age. I was the baby of the first generation, the first wave, but then there had so many more children, I ended up being kind of right in the middle. But for the longest time, I was the baby of the first generation. And anyways, but I look at all of us now, and we all struggle with the same thing. Overeating. So a spirit of gluttony, drunkenness. We all struggle with alcohol in one way, shape, or the other. and just really addiction in general. And so those are our generational curses. And so this is what I believe it's talking about here. It doesn't really specifically say that, but I believe that this is what it's saying. So visiting the iniquity, so visiting the lawlessness or the sins, right? Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So of those that, and we can equate people that hate him to those that don't keep his commandments. Because right here it says, showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and guard my commandments. So here's the opposite of them that hate me. So who hates him? People that don't keep his commandments, period. As we'll see in, I think it's in Revelation here. Actually, I'm sorry, here we go. So I think a lot of people misunderstand this. In Revelation 2, it says, unto the angel of the church of Ephesus write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. I know your works, and your labor, and your patience, and how you canst not bear them which are evil, and you have tried them which say they are apostles and are not, and hast found them liars, and hast borne, and hast patience, and for my name's sake hast labored, and has not fainted. So these are all good works, right? But remember, there's a bunch of people that said, I did many wonderful works in your name, and I did cast out devils in your name. So he's right here. He's like, you have a lot of good works. But he says, nevertheless, I have somewhat against you because you have left your first love, right? So people are like, oh, you left Messiah. Well, essentially, yes, because I believe it's Messiah that gave the commandments, but it's not like you walked away from Messiah and you're no longer a believer, because he's just saying right here, you're doing good works, in for my name, and you have patience for my name's sake. So these are still believers. But he says, you have someone against you because you have left your first love. And so would you know that the first mention of the Most High and love is right here? And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and guard my commandments. So in the Torah, this is the first mention of love in regards to the Most High. This is why I believe this is what he's actually talking about. And verse 5 kind of confirms that. So right after he says, nevertheless, I have somewhat against you because you have left your first love. Remember, therefore, from whence you are fallen, and repent. We repent because we do what? We break his commandments. And do the first works, or else I will come unto you quickly and remove your candlestick out of his place, except you repent, right? Except you turn and start doing it the right way. So anyways, going back to this, going back to generational curses, I believe it's a real thing. And I actually saw that rear its head when I went to California to visit my father, my earthly father, and my sister. I could see that so on my father's side, it's something completely different. And to preserve my father's name, I'm not going to say, what's happened there, but I could see that they both struggled with the same thing. And it's something that I struggled with as well. And, when I went to minister to them, I believe those demons or unclean spirits that were hanging around them were pretty ticked off at me, and it was quite the battle. So it's not like I was in a wrestling match with them. That's what I'm saying. But I all I'm saying is that I see it on both sides of my family, and it's just interesting. And so, how many of you can look at your family and be like, yeah, I see, I struggled with the same things that my dad did, or the same things that my mom struggled with, or my cousins or uncles and aunts, so on and so forth. So we all have our own trials, and see that's just my family story. Your family may struggle with being angry all the time. You could just be a mad person all the time. It's something that our family is not. We're all really just happy-go-lucky people on my mom's side, and your family may be just a bunch of brash people that are like, I hate people, and maybe your big test is you've got to overcome being a brash and hateful person. Maybe that's the hardest part. So, because for me on my side, I loved people before I came. I didn't know exactly how to love them, but I'm just saying in general, I liked people. So that wasn't hard for me, but for some other people, it may be really hard for them to love people. And that's your big test, or your generational curse that you've got to kind of overcome through the Spirit. And there's, obviously, I can't speak to everybody's life because there's so many different things we could talk about, but you look within yourself and your life and your family, and what is your great test? Again, for me, overeating, alcoholism, addiction, those are my big ones, and lust. And we all struggled with lust too. So there's some big ones there. Those are some major ones we struggled with. Anyways, so that's just, again, I'm talking to you like if you were in my living room and sharing with you my life. And, I hope one day we can have more of a dialogue. So Exodus 20 verse, okay, so we read that. So, and showing mercy unto the thousands of them that love me and guard my commandments. If you want to learn more about how to love Yahuwah, I think I got a short 15-minute video out there. It's like how to love God and love people. You can learn a little more if you'd like. Exodus 20 verse 7, you shall not take the name of Yahuah Elohim in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain. We can look at this a couple different ways. The first one, we can look at the TS 2009 version, where it says, you do not bring the name of Yahuwah your Elohim to naught, for Yahuwah does not leave the one punished who brings his name to naught. And you can understand that in a way of like, hey, to diminish Yahuwah's name is to only call him titles, God, Lord, Father only, Most High. I mean, there's nothing wrong with calling him the Most High or Father or Elohim, but to like not embrace his name, could be a way we can look at that. And I think that, again, there's something really to that, but really a little deeper than that. I really believe it's like, actually, Jake Grant told me this one time. He and I and my sons were all kind of hanging out, and we were talking about the commandments, and Jake brought up the story, and I thought it was brilliant. And it really resonated with me. So he's like, I'll just tell it my way. So it's like, for example, when I was in the Marine Corps, and you were in town, you couldn't wear your camouflage utilities, but you could wear like your dress uniforms and whatnot. So let's say I'm out in town and I've got my Marine Corps uniform on, and I'm like in a store, and I'm just being rude to a bunch of people, or pushing people around, yelling at people. Do you think I leave a good name for the Marines or a bad name for the Marines? Bad name. So let's take that in the context of using Yah's name, or go around, in the bulk of the world, I'm a Christian, but they're terrible to their coworkers and family and friends and acquaintances, or I'm a follower of the Torah, but you're going around and beating everybody in the head over it, like just not doing it in a fruitful way. In a lot of ways that can be looked at it as you're bringing dishonor to his name by saying you're his, but acting like total trash. That could be a way looked at it. Also, and some people would say this could be like, swearing to his name, taking his name, for vain reasons, or, I think in modern day Christianity, they would take this as using his name as a curse word, which, I think Hollywood says the name JC for different reasons other than to use it as a curse word. I think it's to put that name in everybody's mind. I think it's a completely different concept than we all were taught, that Hollywood's using it as a curse word. I think it's actually to broadcast that name through all the earth, so all the earth knows that name for when the days come where the lawless one comes in that name and does many wonderful things and converts the whole world to his heart. So that's a whole different subject. We won't go down that rabbit hole tonight or today. So a couple different ways we can look at that that commandment. And I don't think any of them are wrong, and I think we can probably glean something from all of that. There probably is one that's a little more right than the others, and that's a commandment that I'm still testing. So I'd like your feedback on this commandment. So in the comment section, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to see a consensus of what you would pick as the best interpretation of that commandment. I'm interested for your feedback on that one. I'll be checking the comment section a little closer on this video because I'm curious what you all think. Exodus 20 verse 8 through 9. Through 10. Remember the day of Shabbat today, to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of Yahuah Elohim. In it you shall not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant. So in modern day context, your employees, nor your cattle, nor your stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the day of Shabbat and hallowed it. So this is like, the creation week is amazing. I love all of it. And it culminates with the Sabbath. So he gave us an example for all generations that we work 6 days and we rest on the seventh. It's super simple. there's a million different things we can talk about how to keep the Shabbat. I think I do need to make just a quick Shabbat video, like how to do Shabbat. But in general, I think the most important thing is we don't work. And I know some of you have jobs, you work 5 days, and you're like, well, what do I do like on Sunday? I think Sunday in my house is a good day for getting a lot of chores done in the house, doing a lot of errands. That's typically when I go out and shop again for the start of the week. We got a large house. We got 7 of us. So even if I prep a lot of food and get food, Friday before sundown, typically come Sunday, we need something. And a lot of and of course with children, you run out of diapers, you run out of wipies. So I'm just relating you my personal life, which may not apply to most of yours or all of yours, but just kind of going over some scenarios with you. So again, some of you are like, hey, I only work 5 days. What should I do on Sunday? Again, I think Sunday is a great day for laundry, for cleaning up the house, get it started for the first. It's the first day of the week, so get it started for the week. I don't think Shabbat is the best day for cleaning. I think it's a day of rest. Again, shopping, all kinds of other stuff. And anyway, but I think the most important thing we can understand from the Shabbat is don't work, and also no buying and no selling, and which gets tricky, because I order stuff online all the time, and I'm really trying to I'm trying to time it a little better. So I'll buy something like Sunday so that I'll get it, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. But it's like things get held up, and then I've got somebody delivering a package to my door on Saturday, and I feel really bad. I guess there's gonna be some things we just can't help, but we shouldn't make others work on Saturday. And so like going to a restaurant, in my opinion, is not good because you're making someone work, and someone would say like, well, they're gonna work anyways. Well, I don't think we're called to add to the problem. I think we're called to be a solution to the problem. So main thing, don't work, don't buy, don't sell. And there's a million different ways that people do the Shabbat. I think the Jews have really gone into an extreme way. You can't flip a light switch. You're supposed to just lay down all day and not move. It just gets really ridiculous. But this morning was a great example. Just a really peaceful morning. We got to sleep in a little bit. Well, my wife did. And just played with the children a little bit. I'm not a big fan of TV, but on the Shabbat I do like to watch Superbook with them. Certain episodes, some of the Superbook episodes I am not cool with, but some of them are actually really good. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of them are really good. So we watched a Superbook and we talked about it. And some of you, I know you're going to rebuke me for Superbook, and that's fine. But this one, the lesson was love even your enemies. It was a really good story. I actually teared up a little bit. It was really good. So we talked about it. We talked a little bit about that lesson about how people are even mean. So hang out with the kids a little bit this morning. Let mommy sleep in a little bit. Mommy woke up. Cooked a few eggs and some hash browns. And some people are super against cooking on Shabbat. I'm not. I've got a study on that I put out on Word document last week. If you're interested in reading that, last week I put it in the comments or the description box. I think it's called Cooking on Shabbat. So I believe it's totally okay to cook on Shabbat. Shabbat to me is a day of feasting. It's a feast day. It's not a day to fast. It's not, for me, in my opinion, it's not a day to eat cold leftovers. I think it's a day to eat the best. So my favorite meal, actually our family favorite meal, is breakfast. So we had breakfast, and afterwards, the children went outside and played a little bit, and my wife and I were just watching them from the window, chatting a little bit, hanging back, relaxing, anyways, it's a great day to sit around and read scripture, talk about the commandments. We have to also realize that, Sabbath isn't the only day to read scripture and those kind of things. I think we should be reading scripture every day, but there's something really relaxing about just kicking back, honestly, and just reading a little bit of scripture. And I like doing it from a physical copy and not from my phone or whatnot. There's just something really neat about that. Personally, I like playing guitar on the Shabbat, and that's actually where I've wrote most of the songs that I've written so far has been on Shabbat. I feel like there's like extra inspiration on Shabbat. But we all have different hobbies. I don't think it's a day for really hard work. So I don't think it's a day to be out in the garden, those kind of things. We could really, go really deep into this. But really, it's a day. It's also, if you have some fellowship locally, it is a holy convocation. It's a day of assembly. And right now, locally, we're getting together every other week. And hopefully maybe one day in the future when we have a permanent location, we might go every week. But there is something special about getting together with people, and just it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I mean, what we do is really simple. We get together, we socialize for about 30 minutes, let all the people that are late get there late. It never fails, but that's okay. Like, it just happens. It's Shabbat. Take your time, right? So usually about 30 to 45 minutes in, then we'll pray, we'll eat some food, and then as people start finishing their meals, we get into the Torah portion, and we do it in a midrash style, which is where we all take turns reading, and people ask questions, people have comments or personal stories that can relate to what's related in the Torah portion. It's really fun. It's like 3 or 4 hours of just kind of going around round table kind of session and just talking about the Torah portion that week. And after that's over, it's just more social hour, and people start going home. A lot of fun. So anyways, so again, we can talk more and more about what we can and can't do on Shabbat, and you're going to get, you talk to 20 different people about what they do on Shabbat, you'll get 20 different answers. But I think, again, the core of it, don't work. Don't cause other to work. Don't buy, don't sell. Meet up with people if you can. There's that passage in Hebrews 10 that says, it says, I think it's 10:25. Excuse me. We'll start 24. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. So assembling, it's a day of an assembly. So taking a look at Leviticus 23, which is the official commandment of the Shabbat, right here. Speak to the children of Yisrael and say unto them, concerning the feasts of Yahuah, which ye shall proclaim to be holy assemblies, even these are my feasts. And the first feast is the Shabbat. And again, that's why I like to eat good, warm food on that day. And we see provisions for it in Exodus. No work except what everyone should prepare, what everyone should eat. We actually see that in Jubilees 50, which Jubilees 50 has some pretty controversial stuff in it, but nevertheless it says, you shall do no work whatsoever on the Sabbath day, save, so the word save means except what you have prepared for yourself on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest and to keep the Shabbat from all work on that day. So if there wasn't anything to do with the food, they wouldn't have to say except or save what you have prepared. And in those days, preparing the food was like, the day of Shabbat's not the day to go out to your field, gather the wheat, and crush it up. You should have already gathered it, crushed it up, and had it ready so that you can bake it that morning. Same thing we saw last week with, the manna. You're going to gather all the manna on the 6th day, and he says, bake what you will bake today, and seethe what you will seethe. Leave the rest up in the morning. Rest up to the morning. And in my opinion, it was left up in the morning to cook that morning. So anyways, I don't want to get too deep into that. I know that this is a pretty contentious subject. I just like to share where I'm at with it. So, and remember, so accept what you have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest. So again, the Sabbath is not a day to go out and kill a deer and strip it. That should have already been done on the prep day. And that meat could have been left up for the morning to cook for the Shabbat. So it's a nice warm, so you don't have cold, like who likes to eat like cold meat? They didn't have refrigerators back then. They didn't have microwaves. I don't believe that Yahuah called them to eat cold, leftover food. That's just wasn't how it was done. So in our day, prepping could be, what you have prepped on the 6th day is what you went out and bought, what you went out and shopped for on the 6th day, So anyways, there's a lot more to that, but I don't really want to get too deep into that because I know it sometimes brings out some really tough arguments, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm really not. I'm just here to kind of share with where I'm at. Also, when to do the Sabbath. I've studied it inside and out. I've studied morning to morning. I've studied evening to evening. I've studied the lunar Sabbath. I'm right back where I started, which was sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday. And if you want to test that out, I also have a study on that as well. All that's kind of included in the, it's a video called Lunar Sabbath. I did it a couple months ago, I think. But test it out the morning to morning. Just don't find an ample evidence. I know there's some passages that make it seem like it could allude to that, but it was not enough to sway me with some of the things that are just very clear for me. So Leviticus 23:32 in the Septuagint, it shall be a holy Sabbath unto you, and you shall humble your souls from the 9th day of the month, from evening to evening. Now it's interesting that in the Septuagint, it's plural. It says evening to evening shall you keep your Sabbaths. And so, it's kind of interesting that, Passover is celebrated from evening to evening, and Day of Atonement is evening to evening. And, so Yahuah gave us a pattern of two of them being evening to evening. So it would be kind of confusing if he wanted us to only keep those evening to evening, but everything else morning to morning. And I think the big contention that people misunderstand here. So from the 9th day of the month at evening. So from the 9th day of the month at evening, it turns to the 10th day of the month at evening. So it's like the switchover. So it's saying if you start at the 9th of the evening, you're essentially going to the turnover of the 10th, and it goes from the evening of the 10th, right? So the evening of the 9th to the evening of the 10th. That's that twilight period where it goes from light to dark, until the 10th at evening. And we saw the same thing with Jubilees. Jubilees 49. It says right here, so it says, remember the commandment which Yahuah commanded thee concerning the Passover, that thou shouldst celebrate it in its season on the 14th of the first month, that thou should kill it before it is evening, and that they should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun. So this is telling you right here that the changeover from the dates, from the night of the 14th, from the evening of the 14th to the night of the 15th, happened at evening. So happening at nighttime. So enough about that as well. Don't want to stir up too many of you on the Shabbat, because I know not all of you keep evening to evening, but a lot of you ask me these questions, so I think these are some of the best times to answer those questions for you, for those of you that put any stock or value in what I may share with you, or what I believe that the Most High has helped me understand as I've studied the Scriptures. I'm not here to contend with you. If you keep lunar Sabbath, I love you. If you keep the morning to morning Sabbath, I love you. If you keep some other Sabbath that I'm not even aware of, I love you, because you are trying to keep the Most High's commandments in the best way that you know it. And I believe that makes us brothers and sisters. And I'm not here to contend with you. I'm not here to make what you believe seem silly. I'm just here to share with you what I understand the best of my ability at this point. Okay, so let's keep going on. So Exodus 20:12, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which Yahuah Elohim gives you. I want to read a little more about that, what honoring your father and mother may look like. This is the book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus. We're going to go to chapter 3. Here we go. Chapter 3, verses 1 through 16. Hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter, that you may be safe. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. For Yahuah has given the father honor over the children, and has confirmed the authority of the mother over the sons. Whoso honors his father makes an atonement for his sins. It's a big one. And he that honors his mother, we see the same thing actually with giving alms. And he that honors his mother is as one that lays up treasure. Whoso honors his father shall have joy of his own children, and when he makes his prayer, he shall be heard. And I can fully attest to this, that this comes from the living word of the Most High. If you're not familiar, Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, was included in the Septuagint, the Greek manuscripts, the 200 BC, and also in the 1611 KJV, which most people feel really comfortable saying that, that's a good canon. So it was in both of them. This book was in both of them. And anyways, so I can tell you right now, as I started coming back to the commandments, I kind of let my relationship with my earthly father go for many different reasons. And I'm going to preserve his honor by not saying what he's done or whatnot. So all I'm going to say is our relationship kind of just fell apart, and we didn't talk for the longest time. But as I started coming back and started to try to make a relationship with him and try to honor him in any little way I could, it wasn't much, because he kept pushing me away. There wasn't much, but I can tell you, even my attempts to do it, to honor him, I started finding more joy in my children. It was like a light switch just flicked on, and I started having more joy in my children. So I can tell you, I'm here to tell you that not all of us grew up with great parents that did all the right things, or some of them abused, some of them were alcoholics, some of them I've heard of all kinds of things, sexual abuse and all kinds of things. I'm here to tell you that we're called to forgive and to love and to honor our parents, regardless if they were great or not. Some of you out there probably had the best parents, and you're like, yeah, of course, it's easy to honor them. That's an easy one. Check mark, So for some of us, it was kind of tough. And I'm here to say, I don't care what situation you're in, we're called to honor your father and mother. So I think you need to look, if you've got some work to do, I would highly consider it, because it is a commandment. The commandment issued from Yahuah isn't honor your father and mother if they are righteous only. It doesn't say that. He that honors his father shall have a long life, and he that is obedient unto Yahuah shall be a comfort to his mother. He that fears Yahuah will honor his father, and will do service unto his parents as to his masters. Honor your father and mother both in word and deed, that a blessing may come upon you from them. For the blessing of the father establishes the house of children, but the curse of the mother roots out foundations. Glory not in the dishonor of your father, for your father's dishonor is no glory unto you. For the glory of a man is from the honor of his father, and a mother in dishonor is a reproach to the children. My son, help your father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he lives. And if his understanding fail, have patience with him, and despise him not when you are in your full strength. For the relieving of your father shall not be forgotten, and instead of sins it shall be added to build you up. In the day of your affliction it shall be remembered. Your sins also shall melt away as the ice in the fair warm weather. He that forsakes his father is as a blasphemer, and he that angers his mother is cursed of Elohim. And I'm here to tell you, again, your father could have been a raging alcoholic that beat the you-know-what out of you. I'm here to tell you, don't forsake your father. We don't find any justification for, well, this scenario, or well, that. I'm just trying to give you some brotherly advice here. I would just keep that in mind. I don't know why that's unrelated. So another passage in Sirach chapter 7, with all your heart honor your father, and do not forget the birth pangs of your mother. Remember that through your parents you were born, and what can you give back to them that equals their gift to you? Nothing. You cannot repay them birthing you and bringing you into this world. So remember that. I think some wise advice from Sirach. Exodus 20 verse 13, you shall not kill. I think better understood as murder. Rasa, and slayer. It's defined as slayer, murderer, right? It's to murder, premeditated, murder, assassinate. Right. See, it says primitive root, properly dash in pieces, kill a human being, especially to murder. So this isn't just accidental death. This is murder, because we know that there's other laws for accidental death, manslaughter as they call it. So we know that Messiah Yahusha came to expand the law, or magnify it, actually, is what Isaiah prophesied. So Matthew 15:17 through 19, actually, well, we know this. He didn't come to destroy the Torah. I think you already passed that. That was my notes from last year. I think we're past that. Matthew 5:21 through 26. Ye have heard that it was said of them of old time, thou shalt not kill or murder, and whosoever shall murder shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, you fool, shall be in danger of hell fire. Oof. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against you, leave there your gift before the altar, and go your way, and first be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer thy gift. So, again, Messiah Yahusha, expounded on that law for us about not killing. So we got to be really careful, especially in this day and age, and the internet, and everybody's a keyboard warrior, and like, oh, the Sabbath is not on this day, and blah blah blah. You're foolish, and blah, blah. Like, whoa, hold on there. Let's back up a few paces. I don't think that's at all what Yahuah wants for us. And I think that's just someone that's full of head knowledge, and has no care for their fellow brother. And at that point is hating their brother in their heart. You shall not break wedlock or commit adultery. And so the same thing, he expounded on it. Ye have heard that it was said of them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. So, we could talk really deep about this, about really what that looks like. So he's saying here, if you're looking at a married woman and lusting after her with your heart, like, what, could we go a little deeper at that? What about porn? You're just sitting there lusting after someone. What if it's a married woman and you don't know? I mean, so I can't believe I've seen some people even in this Torah walk that have justified that, that porn is okay, or not committing lust, and kind of into this same league here. But I would highly disagree. I think we should flee from all sexual immorality. So we're getting past 2 hours now, so let's keep going here. So Exodus 20:16, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. And I think specifically this commandment is the testimony, how one is put to death by the testimony of one or of two or three witnesses. I think so. Specifically, this is talking about it. But lying in general is not a good thing, and that's why I decided in that children's song, which we'll play at the end of this, is I went with lying because I think our children need to grow up not lying. Here, let me read this for you. Sirach 7:13. Refuse to utter any lie, for the habit of lying serves no good. So you can see here that lying in general was not really the full purpose of the commandment. I think really it was the false testimony, just like, when Yahusha was put to death by false testimony, by false witnesses. So they were breaking the commandment. We saw that Jacob, he inherited the blessing by lying. That was a little bit different. So anyways, but at the end of the day, lying is not good. We should, and I think Sirach has great advice, refuse to utter any lie. I don't think we should lie about anything, for the habit of lying serves no good. Exodus 20, verse 17, you shall not lust after, or you can call it coveting or lusting. You shall not lust after your neighbor's house. You shall not lust after your neighbor's woman, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is your neighbor's. And this is a kind of a catch-all, because, or at least for all the commandments of how we love others, because as we saw, the first 5 commandments is how we love Yah. The last 5 commandments is how we love people. And if you covet your neighbor's wife, well, it's going to probably lead you to adultery. If you covet someone's stuff, it might lead you to stealing, or, which actually, I didn't even read that. How did I skip that? Exodus 20, verse 15, you shall not steal. This is a pretty simple one to understand, but even in this internet age, I think there could be a different way of looking at that. I really don't know how I want to get into that. But I think we understand. I think most of us can understand, at least adults that are listening, what it means to steal someone else's belongings. I think that's a pretty straightforward one to understand. But going back to coveting, I can't believe I almost skipped the stealing one. I almost stole from Yahuah by not reading that commandment. Forgive me. So this coveting one can lead you to stealing somebody's stuff. It can lead you to killing somebody. If you're lusting after his stuff and you want it, you could either steal it from him or you can kill him and steal it, like Ahab did when he wanted the vineyard, or Jezebel did it, But, that was coveting. He coveted Ahab. If you're not familiar with that story, Ahab, there was this vineyard that was close to the palace that he wanted, and he asked to buy it. He's like, I'll give you full price, or I'll give you a vineyard somewhere else. And the guy, and the man, I forgot his name, was like, no, no way, I can't sell you my family's inheritance. And Ahab came home, sad, and because he's coveting his stuff. He's like, and Jezebel's like, why is the king of sad countenance? He's like, because I wanted so-and-so's vineyard. And she's like, aren't you the king? I'll get it for you. And she killed him. She had him killed by false witnesses. So that's what coveting can lead you to. And I think in our day and age that we grew up in, consumerism, I think coveting is something that we really have to be aware of, because I think it should be easy for us to be able to not steal, or not to lie, or to not murder somebody. And maybe in your heart it's a little different story, but coveting, in the consumer age that we grew up in, I think this is something that we really have to shake off us for not caring. If someone we know has a bigger house than us, or a nicer car, or so what? Like, what is that? It's nothing. And this world is temporary. Like, who cares? Like, be satisfied with what Yah has provided you. What did Yahusha say? Seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness, and all these things shall be provided to you. You want clothes, you want, you want raiment, you want food, you want these provisions. He's like, well, everybody seeks after that, but for you, seek first the kingdom of Elohim, and all these things, they're going to be added to you. It's not a big deal. And what's great is when you thirst after his righteousness, you stop caring about this stuff. He could have said that, but he gave you the steps, and then you have to learn that on your own, that you'll stop caring about having the newest and nicest clothes, or even having multiple changes of clothes. I can tell you, it's actually a lot simpler just to have a couple changes of clothes that you just wear all the time. I mean, I washed it, don't worry, but I'm just saying, like, it's actually a lot simpler than having like all these different amounts of clothes. It's so much. But he changes our heart's desire when Messiah in chapter 5 of Matthew, he says, those who thirst after righteousness, they will be filled. Because we learn when we're covetous people and we want more, the human tragedy is that you'll never have enough. And again, I know I'm repetitive if you just saw that documentary, but if you covet after money, or covet after cars or houses, or you'll never have enough. You'll never have enough. I learned this. I saw it in real time. I worked for like a guy that had a multi-million-dollar business, and he was making great money, had everything he needed, but he penny pinched his customers, and he stole from them because he could never have enough money. Whereas he should have been satisfied. But because money was his god, or he coveted it, it led him to, to destruction. So anyways, hopefully I think we can all get that. So we're gonna finish up here. Actually, let's see, what did I have here? Sirach 14:9-10. A covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion. Okay, so that's exactly what I was talking about. A covetous eyes man is not satisfied with his portion. He could be a billionaire, not satisfied, right? So why do you think all these billionaires that run this world are not satisfied and want to kill you? Because they're not satisfied, because the money's not satisfying what they hoped it would. And the iniquity of the wicked drieth up his soul. A wicked eye envieth his bread, and he is a niggard at his table. This isn't what you think it means. This just means a stingy person is a stingy person at his table. I forgot that was in there. Sorry. Okay, so let's just finish this up, and we're going to be done with this Torah portion. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the shofar and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they were moved and stood afar off. And they said unto Moshe, speak with us, and we will hear, but let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. And Moshe said unto the people, fear not, for Elohim is come to prove you, that his fear may be before your faces, and that you sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moshe drew near unto the thick darkness where Elohim was. And Yahuah said unto Moshe, thus you shall say unto the children of Yisrael, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me Elohai of silver, neither shall you make unto you Elohai of gold. The altar of earth ye shall make unto me, and shall sacrifice thereon your burnt offerings, and your peace offerings, your sheep, and your oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto you, and I will bless you. And if you will make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of hewn stone. For if you lift up your tool upon it, you have polluted it. Neither shall you go up by steps unto my altar, that your nakedness be not discovered thereon. So, ran out of time today. The Targums, if you have some, the Targums are actually pretty interesting for chapter 20. Read that on your own if you'd like to. There's some interesting things about why each commandment was given, and I think you find some pretty interesting things there. So take a look at that if you'd like. You can go to just targums.info, and you can read it there for yourself. So we're going to end with actually, first of all, let's end with a shofar. So let's bow our hearts in prayer and thank Yahuah for this time. Heavenly Father, O Yahuah, we come before you in Yahusha's name, and we bless you, and we praise you, and we thank you for your Shabbat. We thank you for all your righteous commandments and showing us that they are still valid, they are still good, and we praise you and thank you for bringing us back to you, because we know, as the Scripture says, no man comes to you but by Messiah Yahusha, and in him do we believe, and we trust, and we thank you for all that you do, and we pray that you were blessed by some of us gathering together and reading your scriptures and wanting to grow thereby. We pray that you meet that faith and you give us growth and understanding and strength that we may walk in your way, and we just bless you, and we look forward to the return of Messiah Yahusha, and we pray to be worthy to escape all these things that are coming to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. Amen and amen. Let's do the blessing. Yevarechecha Yahuah veyish merecha Yaer Yahuah panav elecha v'chuneka Yisa Yahuah panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. Yahuah bless you and keep you. Yahuah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuah lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom, give you some peace in your life. And hopefully you're experiencing that today on the Shabbat. And I forgot to mention to you, I do think that a public gathering of his Shabbat is really what he's looking for, but I think he understands that some of us just live in the remotest parts of the world. And I do think in part that whether we gather, Friday nights or here, during the day of the Shabbat, I think these internet gatherings, hopefully I pray that he looks upon these as a public gathering, because if you look at the word, the word holy convocation or holy assembly that was used, it's kind of defined as a public gathering. And a public gathering, I think, of prayer and reading of his scriptures. So really, that's kind of what we did here. So maybe, hopefully in a lot of ways, this is a fulfillment of that. So for those of you that don't have any local fellowship. So again, praise be to Yah. Any wisdom that was here in this study was from him. He is the one that gives wisdom and understanding through his Ruach. And brothers and sisters, may you be blessed and enjoy the rest of your Shabbat. Shalom to you. I'm just going to play a few songs. We'll start with the Ten Commandments song. And if you haven't heard it yet, it's great for your children to help memorize the commandments if you have some. Or it might be good for you too. I don't know. But praise be to Yah. And we'll see you soon. Shalom.